I'm Geoff Baker of the Seattle Times. Welcome to Around the Blogosphere, our daily rapid-fire look at all the blog posts and happenings surrounding the Seattle Mariners in the local blogosphere. And scanning around the blogosphere today, the big story is about James Paxton. There were some tweets put out last night by people close to James Paxton saying that he'd actually signed with the Seattle Mariners. Now, for those of you who don't know who James Paxton is, go over to Lookout Landing. They have a nice profile on him. And they basically describe him. He was a 37th overall draft pick by the Toronto Blue Jays, ended up not signing with them, went back to school, tried to play his senior year at the University of Kentucky, but the NCAA didn't allow him to do that, so he had to go play in the independent leagues for Grand Prairie, and you know, the Mariners were able to get him as a 4th-round draft pick last June. That's quite a fall from going from you know, a supplemental pick down to the 4th round. So the Mariners are hoping they've got a bit of a diamond in the rough here. He's a left-handed starting pitcher, throws a fastball in the low 90s, and then depending on who you talk to, you know, his breaking ball needs some work, his changeup needs some work, and so that's going to be the big question here. And if you flip over to USS Mariner, if you look there, Jay Yensick, who's actually their specialist when it comes to amateur prospects, you know, he mentions that the Mariners really don't know what they're getting right now. If they're getting the 2009 version of Paxton, he says he projects as maybe the organization's second-best pitcher after Michael Pineda as far as prospects go. He said he could project as a top-of-the-rotation starter. Then again, he says if you look at the guy who pitched in 2010, he might only be a middle-of-the-rotation starter, or maybe even worse, and he might not be here as quickly as some people suspect. Yensic notes that that Paxton only pitched 17 2/3 innings for Grand Prairie last season in the independent leagues, and so you know there's a lot of question marks that surround this kid, and so we'll just have to see. First, we have to confirm that he's actually signed with the Mariners. The thing is, most of the time when people mention that prospects sign, I can tell you this from experience, they haven't actually signed. It means they've agreed to terms, and then they have to fly in here right now to Peoria. They would have to take a physical and then finally sign the documents in after. So that's why there hasn't been any announcement of this yet, because the deal is probably not done as we speak. Now moving along, if we look over at Soto Mojo, Harrison Crow has an interesting profile this morning on pitcher Brandon League, and Crow's conclusion is that League's season last year probably wasn't as disappointing as a lot of Mariners fans seem to think that it was. What Crow notes is that League had a very high ground ball rate. It was up over 60%, and he had a very low line drive rate, which means that hitters weren't making very good contact off him at all. Now, Crow also notes that all 3 of League's pitches projected either average or better last season, which is really good, and it's kind of promising. He also notes that he had a very high a higher than average home run ratio on every fly ball he gave up. So he suggests that League might have been a little unlucky last season as well. So that's something to keep an eye on as this season goes forward. What he concludes is that League would make an excellent 9th inning stopgap once David Aardsma is traded, and he could probably finish off the season as Seattle's closer. Over at Pro Ball Northwest, they're obviously buzzing about the James Paxton signing, reported signing as well. But they also did another post where Taylor Halperin takes a look at Felix Hernandez, and he uses different numbers to look at Felix Hernandez. And his conclusion is that Mariners fans should rejoice because Felix Hernandez is one of the few sure things as far as this organization goes. He says Mariners fans can count on Felix Hernandez to deliver the goods almost every single time out, and he notes that you know there aren't too many players you can say that about on this baseball team. So that was a little interesting thing. And also, if you look at Prospect Insider, they just released their top prospects. We previewed it earlier last week. They had released their top prospects in the Mariners system, ranking them 16 through 30. Today we've got ranks number 1 through 15. I can tell you who the top 3 are, and most of you could probably guess: Dustin Ackley, Michael Pineda, and Nick Franklin. But try guessing who number 4 is. I dare you. Go ahead and guess who number 4 prospect in the Mariners system is. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to read Prospect Insider. I'm Geoff Baker of the Seattle Times. I'll see you at the ballpark.